Okay. Welcome to the first episode of Beat the Buzzer podcast. Today we're going to be talking about the Todd Gurley contract extension and what that means for the running back market. We're also going to be talking about Julio Jones' contract revisions, Odell Beckham's situation. It's very interesting that Todd Gurley probably didn't ask for much more than the contract he received. And Le'Veon Bell is probably looking to make more than $17 million a year. He's probably looking for $18 million a year, probably around 4 years. I think the Rams got a huge bargain signing Todd Gurley to that super small deal, because if we're being honest, Todd Gurley was the MVP last year. He would have probably second had Carson Wentz been it. I think they just gave it to Tom Brady just because he's Tom Brady. I think we all know Todd Gurley deserved it more. His team way overperformed, and a lot of that is chalked up to the great coaching. However, you still have to give a massive part of that offense up to Jared Goff and Todd Gurley. Todd Gurley was the best running back performance-wise in the league last year by far. It wasn't even close. So you would want to pay him like a star. 4 years, $60 million, it's still a lot of money, obviously, especially at that running back position where you don't want to lock someone up for that long, because that's the most injury-prone position. So much can change every year with that position. You don't know what you're going to get out of them. It's probably the least reliable position when it comes to the superstars. They sometimes tend to underperform. But ultimately, he's a superstar player. He can catch. Doesn't have the greatest hands, but he's actually very good after the catch. He's obviously an extreme runner. He's speed, probably the best in the NFL. So you'd love to give him that contract. You love for the Rams. You got to lock up all these young players. You got all these young players that are going to be on these expiring deals. You see what's happening with Aaron Donald now and Khalil Mack, how they each want to be the highest paid player. So it's just, you want to make sure you are at least locking up some of these guys. Jared Goff's contract extension should be coming up either next year. Next year, actually. His contract extension should be coming up. If they don't get him an extension, he'll hit free agency the year after. So you don't want to deal with him being in free agency. Obviously, being the franchise quarterback, you use your first overall pick on him. So it's just nice to see the Rams going in the right direction. They also got that Brandon Cooks contract extension. You know you like that. 5 extra years, so you got him for 6 years now, assuming you don't trade him. I think it's a great move, and it's a great decision for the franchise. But now we got Le'Veon Bell, Zeke Elliott, and David Johnson, who either this year or soon are going to need those contracts. And they're looking at Todd Gurley, and they're all thinking, we're better than Todd Gurley. I don't necessarily agree with that, but they're thinking, we're better than Todd Gurley. We deserve more than Todd Gurley. Like I already said, Le'Veon Bell probably looking for $18 million. I think he'll probably get around $16, $17 million a year. But then Zeke Elliott, David Johnson will look at that and say, well, we think we're the best running back in the league. We deserve more than that. So I think eventually we're going to get to the point where the money just keeps going up and up until we get to the point where the top 3 running backs in the league are making $20 million every year, until we get to a point where they're just all getting super injured. Kind of like how the NBA situation is right now, where they inflated their contracts so much for these players until they realize, wait, we can't really afford to do this, because look at our SAP situation. We can't afford to overplay every player. So then the contracts are going to generally go down and down and down until we get back to the normal level. Or we could get the situation where these top running backs do just get paid, but the rest of the running back situation, or the rest of the running back contracts just stay the same. I don't really see that happening. It just seems unlikely. I feel, just knowing what happened in the NBA, I feel the first situation seems more likely. But you never know what's happening with really sports. These contracts always changing, always making crazy changes in the league. Future of the league could be very interesting if these running back situations keep going bigger and bigger and bigger, with the players holding out. Okay, so when I first saw that Julio Jones' contract was being revised, I thought he was going to cut off a year, maybe 2, and also just keep making more money in those years. He increased the years, I think about $3 million for the first year. The other years will be revised next year. I honestly don't see the point of that. I think the best move for Julio would have been to add maybe $2 million to this year, $2 million to next year, cut off that third year completely, hit free agency, because you know you're going to get paid a lot in that free market. There's going to be so many teams begging for you. Maybe even leave ATL. I don't think he's really thinking about leaving ATL right now. He has no reason to. They haven't put him in a bad situation. He had a down year last year, but a down year for Julio Jones was still around 1,400 yards. The TDs were the only area where he was really underperforming to his standards. Every team would take a receiver who gets 1,400 yards, no matter, even if they have 0 touchdowns. Obviously, he didn't. I believe he had around 6 to 9 touchdowns. No pun. But him in the red and black, he's performed extremely well since his rookie year. It's been nothing but up, nothing but positives. If they have a Super Bowl appearance, their offense is always looking good. It's the defensive side that sometimes falters. In 2016, when they made it to the Super Bowl, he was obviously a massive part of that. Him and Devontae Freeman, obviously Matt Ryan. It was just nothing going but up and up and up. But now they've kind of treaded water. They're not really getting that much better. But for Julio Jones, I'd still want to stay in ATL if I was. They're going to probably pay me as much, but if they're not looking to pay me, for Julio Jones, he's probably on the open market worth about $18 million a year. And probably less, maybe less, maybe more. I'd really have to look at the other wide receivers, because the other top wide receivers haven't really received their deals yet. You got OBJ, who we're going to talk about later. You got Antonio Brown, who's not really getting his big contract yet. So you're saying, I want to wait for these guys to get their contract so I can see what their wide receiver market is looking like. For me, obviously, they all want to be the top paid wide receivers. You obviously want to make the most money you can. But with Julio, I think it would be smart to get my new contract as fast as possible, because with a player who just plays like him, with how big he is, you don't know how his career could be affected in these few coming years. You could have career-altering moves, decisions, injuries that just make him worth less, or maybe they make him worth exponentially more. But if I'm Julio, I'm saying I want the most money I can get, and I want it as soon as I can get, because I want it to be secured. I want to secure the bag. You saw how Matt Ryan got paid. He's saying if Matt Ryan can get paid that big money, I want to get paid that big money. I want to be the top paid receiver in the league, and I can, and I should deserve to be. He's not the best receiver in the league. You could make the case for it, but I think Antonio Brown just completely blew that conversation out of the water this year. Not even close to me. So I'm saying, if I'm Julio, I'd want my bag. I don't understand really the point of this contract revision. Obviously, anytime you get more money, it's good money. But I don't really see the point of this. If you're not going to take off any years, there's no point of really just adding money just so you can make $2 million more a year. Obviously, $2 million to anyone is still a lot of money. But even though people say, oh, they make all this money, but $2 million is still $2 million. There's no way to put it. I hate when people say that about athletes, like, oh, it doesn't matter that they're taking these pay cuts because they're still getting all this money. Because $2 million is just $2 million. That's all I have to say about that. It just pisses me off when people say that. But back to Julio and his situation, I still don't understand what the point of the revision was. If I was going to revise my contract and I'm Julio Jones, I'm saying, give me more money in these 2 years and then take off the third year completely. I don't want to be on that third year. I want to hit the open market. I want to get paid. I'm not saying I'm going to leave you, Falcons, so don't think that. I just want to be able to hit the open market so I can see what my real value is rather than what you guys see my value as. And I think that would have been the smartest move for Julio. I don't think the Falcons would have really tried too hard to stop him from that, just because you don't want to disgruntle one of your star players. And that's just my opinion on the whole Julio situation. All right, let's talk about Odell Beckham Jr. and his contract extension situation. Hasn't received one yet, but for the first time, I feel like ever, you see all these stories about people holding out training camps. Odell's actually going to play in training camp. Participate in training camp. And honestly, I think Odell is making the right move by participating in training camp just because he has the injury scares from last year. So oh, I want my contract, but I'm still going to participate in training camp just so you know I'm fully healthy, and you should pay me because I'm fully healthy. I'm still a top 3 receiver in the league in most people's opinions. He obviously thinks he's the best receiver in the league because why wouldn't he? He's a pro athlete. So if I'm Odell, I'm saying this is the right decision. Don't hold out. It's okay for some other people to hold out. Sorry. Because they don't have that injury history like Odell does. It's not really that bad of a history. However, this year was just riddled with injuries. Everything. I would know personally. I drafted him in fantasy, first-round pick. Very sad times. However, I pulled off the trade, got Todd Gurley for him at Ron Shanghai. But that's neither here nor there. When it comes to OBJ, how much is he worth? Personally, I don't think he's worth as much as an Antonio Brown or a Julio Jones, just because those two, they're in a class of their own. People try to make the case that Odell is just as good, if not better than them. I don't buy it at all. Odell is kind of a one-dimensional receiver. He can't really make that many plays. He kind of just can get some good catches off. I'm not saying he's not a top receiver. He's definitely top 5, no question. Most likely top 3, but the gap between 2 and 3, in my opinion, is just extremely large. For Odell, you have to have an elite QB with him. You have to have a QB that can hit him in his spots. Now, in his spots, he can make almost any catch. There's no question about it. But if you can't hit him in his spots, he's somewhat dysfunctional. He's not an elite route runner like an Antonio Brown. He's not just super big like a Julio Jones who can. And these traits allow them to be elite receivers. Odell is just a guy who can make any catch if you hit him in his spots. Antonio Brown can make his spots. Julio Jones creates his spots in game. He doesn't have certain spots where he needs the ball. Antonio Brown's Tony toe tap. He can get any sideline catch. That's his thing. He never lets it get out of bounds. Julio Jones, not only is he massive, I believe 6'4", he's extremely strong, but he's agile, he's strong, he's athletic. He can get anywhere on the field. He can make any catch on the field. That's what makes him such a top player. With Odell, you just have an extremely skilled catcher. However, and he's fast. However, he's not strong. He's not athletic. He's not athletic. He's not strong. He's not big. He's not crafty. So he can't really make those plays like AB can. He's got his height. He's got his speed. He's got his ability to catch, but he can only catch in certain spots. He's not amongst the tops. However, I respect his ability to be one of the best receivers in the league. He drops a lot of passes, yeah, but every receiver drops a lot of passes, and just Odell's in such a big microscope because people were expecting him to be the best receiver out of the league in his rookie season. So he's just getting the microscope on him. However, Odell making the right decision, playing in training camps, showing his value. If he has an amazing year this season, if he's one of the top 3 receivers performance-wise in this season, like he puts up, let's say, I don't know, how about 1,300 yards, gets you about 10 to 12 TDs, maybe more, I think he would get himself a massive contract. However, it would be overpaid. Personally, for Odell, I don't see him getting that Julio AB money. I see him getting more around 12 to 14 million a year. Probably getting himself a 4-year deal, so somewhere around 48 to 56 million in total across 4 years. That's just my personal opinion. Some people out there would consider him the best receiver in the league, some people consider him having the most upside in the league out of any player. I don't know about that. I think that's kind of far-fetched, but I know people that would legitimately give him a 5-year, $80 million deal. 5 years, I don't know, 70 or 75 million. I'm just like, really? For OBJ? He's obviously a special player. He's a unique player. There's not really anybody like him. However, that could be to his detriment because you want certain things out of a receiver and certain things he just can't give you. And honestly, I feel like OBJ would be in the best situation where he has another top receiver next to him, where it's 2 top receivers, but he's the best out of them, rather than him being the lone star receiver of a team. However, he's still proven that he can be the best receiver on the team by far and put up elite numbers, put up some good team success seasons, and by some, I mean 1. But at the end of the day, the Giants are kind of in a rebuild. They got Saquon Barkley, who I don't think will have that good of a rookie year. I think he'll underperform based on what he should be able to do because the Giants' O-line is so weak. The Giants' offense, however, receiving-wise, I think could be a sleeper this year. People aren't really realizing how good the Giants' receiving core could be this year. However, it depends on the QB situation, which is not looking good, as well as the O-line situation. I think Saquon Barkley, if they get the receivers in touch, and if their O-line can perform average, he'll have an amazing rookie year. However, more likely than not, I think he'll get around 800 to 1,000 yards, maybe 8 TDs. I don't know. I don't see that much out of his rookie year just because of the system that he's put into. But this isn't even about Saquon Barkley. I don't know why I'm on that. As for Odell, I think he's in the right situation, and I think he's going to make the right moves.